wanted to share two very positive moments that I've experienced personally over the last 24 hours. Well, I think you'll all agree that Cobh looked splendid last night as 91-year-old Johnny Fogarty and his model house building was actually featured on RTE's Nationwide. Such publicity on national TV is so welcome for our area. And just this morning, I was out for a walk before the snow and I passed Westview, the row of houses that have become the iconic postcard of Cobh, otherwise known as the Deck of Cards. Thanks to the collaborative partnership between Dulux, Cork County Council and Cobh Tidy Towns, Westview now looks even more vibrant. Well done to everyone involved. And Hendrik, I know you're here with us this morning from Cobh Tidy Towns. Just continued community volunteerism has helped us all survive together through the pandemic as we gradually move towards the endemic. As we all know, the pandemic brought challenges as well as opportunities. New practices, innovative technology, and lifestyle choices have influenced how people in different sectors do business. It also offered teams in certain sectors the opportunity to be more flexible. That in and of itself presents an opportunity to Cobh to attract and enable flexible workers to locate here in our beautiful town. The challenge is to deliver a digital hub for Cobh, and we in the Chamber are working very closely with Cork County Council, and I can assure you that this is a very high priority for us in Cobh and Harbour Chamber to deliver a digital hub to Cobh. Just like we have all evolved over the past 2 pandemic years, so too has Cork. When you take a snapshot of Cork over the last number of decades, the economy of Cork has not just evolved, it has transformed. Here in Cobh, a functioning rail station has through innovation integrated an excellent visitor service, while an adjoining industrial dock has become a mecca for the cruise industry as Cobh has become a tourism gem. And of course, complemented by the jewel that is the destination, Spike Island. All of us here this morning are so much looking forward to giving a warm welcome to Cobh, to our cruise visitors in the very near future, I hope. And hopefully our visitors will experience in the future a rejuvenated public realm that we in the Chamber have worked so hard to lobby to deliver this welcome public investment into Cobh. As a city, harbour and region, we are unrecognisable from Cork of the 80s, and our output has moved from a heavy manufacturing economy to a knowledge economy. In turn, Cork's exports have increased in value. Ringaskiddy in the harbour became a hub for the pharmaceutical industry. A cluster for the computer gaming industry has grown in Cork City, while the presence of Dell has cemented Cork's position as an international centre of excellence in the IT world. Originally as EMC, but now Dell, has continued to remain a huge contributor to Cork as an innovative international technology hub through innovation and pivoting what Cork and Cork's people can offer the international market. Cork now has an opportunity to evolve and become the fulcrum of offshore renewable energy inside and outside our harbour. Cork has proven its ability to enable itself as a location for global benchmarking and futuristic industries. However, as we transition to renewable energy, we need to be mindful of the very real economic realities. Supply chain is paramount in all of the aforementioned industries, and supply of energy at a realistic cost is a huge factor for businesses and indeed consumers. Today's businesses are facing greenflation and inflation. Ireland needs to urgently address our energy supply and our energy security. To avoid the unbearable increases in energy costs, Ireland has to look to Ireland for solutions, particularly in the provision of transitional energy. There are opportunities to deliver energy security and transition off the coast of Ireland, and these ought to be facilitated by government. To achieve our positive future goals, we need to survive through the now. Your Chamber is so very fortunate to have the Port of Cork as our partner for these breakfast events, and on your and my behalf, I express our deep gratitude to the Port of Cork and to their Chief Commercial Officer, Conor Moulds, of whom I will call upon now to introduce our special guest this morning, Bob Savage. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and I'd like to add my welcome to that of Joanna to the second of this year's Cobh and Harbour Chamber breakfasts, which the Port of Cork is indeed very proud to have the opportunity to sponsor. This morning, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to welcome our guest, Bob Savage. Bob is the VP and Chief Information Officer for Europe, Middle East and Asia, and Cork site lead for Dell Technologies. Bob is a fellow of the Irish Academy of Engineers and has spent over 30 years with Dell Technologies, holding leadership roles in manufacturing, engineering, and customer services. Bob is the chair of the Governing Body of MTU and previously CIT, where I worked with him myself, a member of the Board of Enterprise Ireland, president of the American Chamber of Commerce Ireland, and chair of the National Skills Council. Bob is also a board member of the Cork Airport Development Forum and a recent winner of the Outstanding Contribution to Business Chamber Award. Join with us this morning and welcome Bob and listen to some of his inspirational stories, and also, most importantly for many people here, a Cobh resident. Bob, you are very welcome.
Thank you very much, Conor. Thank you very much, Joanna and Lee, for inviting me. I presume you can hear me okay. To the Cobh resident, I'm privileged to make a number of these presentations and speeches, but when you live somewhere, and like one I made in Cork some years ago where I grew up, they're rather frightening, so bear with me. But I'll give you my Cobh connection. I'm living here since 1998. My wife came from Cobh. My father was born in Cobh in Waterstone, went to school for a couple of years there before he moved back to Glounthaune. Worked probably the best years of his life in the dockyard, loved the whole maritime scene. In fact, very proud that he built a model of a famous tug called the Turmoil, which is now down in the Maritime College for others to see. When I think about me and Cobh, what value do I bring? Well, a small bit here and there. Delighted to be able to bring visitors, Dell executives and customers to Cobh whenever I can, to see the incredible harbour, the cathedral, the Heritage Centre, the Titanic Trail, the history of Lusitania, to mention just a few. And the feedback from every one of them, bar none, is just, it's a tremendous place, and we probably don't do enough to advertise it more because of its potential. And Spike is a great example of how that's evolved over time. So proud of the past and very excited about the future. Now, what I'm going to talk a little bit about today, if I may, delighted to take questions at the end, is a little bit about me and my journey to give you some context. I'll talk about Dell Technologies and Dell and Cork a bit. I'll talk about US foreign direct investment, how important it is, and my time within the American Chamber. Obviously Cork, Cobh, a little bit into East Cork and West Waterford. Have to talk about COVID, but also beyond it, and some closing remarks where I'll cover just a few things that I've hopefully learned along the way. I know I see John Keating there, and one of the things I wanted to talk about today was Toastmasters. Dell is very strong on Toastmasters. We'd be delighted to engage and share best practice, John, with you and the Toastmaster team, because it is very important, whether you're in Cobh or in Dell, to be able to tell our story with passion. So, career journey. I did a degree in electronic engineering at Regional Technical College Cork, the first in my family to have a degree. And when I look at it now, I know Conor would be certainly aware of this journey from Regional Technical College to Institute of Technology and now to MTU, Munster Technological University. Just one point, Kerry has a university now as a result of this. And I can tee you up that please tune in for the next presentation, I think on the 24th of March, Joanna, where Professor Maggie Cusack, who I've got to know, will certainly give you some great insights on where that journey is going to go now. Before I joined EMC in 1988, had a mixed experience, learned a lot, but I got a bit of advice that you should work for a US multinational, ideally a startup. That came about with EMC, and 34 years, haven't been fully found out yet, so we're still here. It's been an incredible journey, really have enjoyed it. And one of the things, as I was getting into management about 15 years ago, a wise executive gave me advice when he visited. He said, listen, if you want to round out your skills and give something back, work for a not-for-profit, work for government, work for education. And that's why I got involved in Enterprise Ireland when I was asked to do so. SME, business versus multinational, learned an awful lot. The American Chamber, a huge network of US companies that we come together, share experience, build friendship. And then the CIT and for a little bit MTU. Just, I have a huge passion for careers, skills, and lifelong learning. So let me talk a little bit about Dell Technologies. And I would do this, wouldn't I, with a prop, but this is a book that Michael Dell, our founder and chief executive, has written recently, Play Nice but Win. And what I'd hope to do, and I know Margaret probably put in the chat there, an interview that Michael did fairly recently. It's a podcast with Tim Ferriss, and you'll hear how he has evolved over the years as he leads this now great company. But one of the things he said at that interview, I need to say, because it certainly inspires me to be part of Dell Technologies. It was an answer to one of Tim's questions. He said, I think life is a long journey, and your reputation and your integrity matters. And I've seen time and time again that when you do the right thing and treat people fairly and nicely, it comes back around to you in very positive ways. It's certainly what I feel comfortable with, but it's also a lot simpler way to live your life. And our company starts without any business stuff with a purpose to create technologies that drive human progress. And that's what inspires me and privileged to be part of Dell Technologies here. I'm not going to talk too much about the technology. Yeah, we offer solutions from what we would call gateway devices that sits on sensors, right up to big hybrid cloud implementations, laptops, whatever you have. We have a complete array of solutions. But I think what makes it for us is Michael leading with that purpose, absolutely obsessed with doing the right thing for customers. In the world we're in now, work and collaborate and innovate from anywhere. In fact, we've been in Dell working from home since 2009. So this transition, the innovation was already done. Now, in about 4 or 5 hours time, if you want to look at the web, you'll see our results for our past year. I can't say what they are, we're a public company, but I think playing nice and winning is a good thing to think about. So have a look at those in the next 4 or 5 hours. As site leader in Cork, where we have 2,500 team members, my job description probably tells you what we're at. Embrace change, build a unified team, connect everyone across the organization, speak in a single voice, build strong relationships with our stakeholders, and drive a culture of innovation. And it's very important to define innovation that it's not just about science and technology and products, it's about doing things differently, doing things that add value in whatever business unit you're in. And I hope some of you can visit us at some time when COVID is completely over, and you'll see specifically, say, some of our manufacturing innovations that we've been working on here over the last 23, 24 months. But the most important thing for me is to make sure that Dell Technologies Cork is a safe, hopefully great, and inclusive place to work, and not just a badge over the door. So when people want to join us, they like the culture, they like the purpose, that they can truly be their best. We have 2,500 people in Cork, and we have 5,000 team members approximately across Ireland and Limerick and Dublin. Now, continuing the theme of, sometimes I talk to people and they don't fully understand the importance of US foreign direct investment in Ireland. And prop number 2, if I may, which was published on February 11, which is from the American Chamber, Business in Ireland, 64 pages or thereabouts. Let me just give you some statistics. There's 180,000 jobs across 800 companies, with 144,000 jobs indirectly as a result of US companies in Ireland. That's 44% growth over the last 10 years, 10 billion on payroll, and 6.3 billion in goods and services. And also, as we've evolved, a bit like RTC IoT has evolved, it's a two-way relationship now. There's 110,000 jobs in Irish companies in the US across approximately 650 firms. And in that supplement, which you can look at, it's on the AmCham website, you can see more relevant information. But here's the important thing. It's not just about what's here now, it's certainly about what's going to come in terms of newer investment. And it's remembering the past, those who've been here in the past and maybe no longer. Because the legacy has meant that people like me and many on the call, because I know their team members get an opportunity to travel the world, to work in a US multinational environment, where many have gone and then set up their own companies because they got the confidence to do so, and help with our SME sector. So it's a very important area for us, past, present, and future. And of course, when you're talking about that and the future, why do US companies invest in Ireland or here in the harbour? It always starts with our people and our leaders who can lead pieces of the organization for US companies around the world. The ability to innovate, and I talked about that earlier. And Joanne has talked about some of this, pro-business environment, or EU membership, English speaking with multilingual capability, or culture. We don't have any axe to grind with anyone. We do get on with most people. Or time zone, which allows us look after areas of the business in other zones for the US, IP compliance, geopolitical stability, but most important, our reputation, and we must continue to build that. And if I draw that down to Cobh and the Cork region, for me, it truly is a great place to work and live. It is a great location. If I look at the city and county, the accessibility, everything is reachable. The harbour, I refer back to Barry O'Sullivan's presentation in January, just what a resource it is. The city itself is the second city in the EU, so there's an EU focus. If I think of an area of education, which is very important to me, MTU, you're going to hear about that a lot more, but you've Rubicon, the National Maritime College, you have the School of Music, Crawford College of Art and Design, University College Cork, you've Tyndall, Beaufort, the Irish Management Institute, and the Ignite program. But also very important, as I was reminded by one of my colleagues here yesterday, the further education element is going to become much more important, because you can have someone starting and do a degree, an undergraduate degree in UCC, a master's in MTU, and then during working life have several interventions, maybe in further education. And of course, further education brings in the importance of apprenticeship. Cork Airport, recovering out of COVID, brand new terminal, brand new runway, great asset to have. Broad mix, as Joanna said, of businesses across many sectors. And one of the things that we get a lot of free advertising for is a lot of people visit Cobh. Just recently on a TV program called Abandoned Engineering, they did 25 minutes on Spike, the harbour and the forts. And I can guarantee you that's going to attract a lot of attention. A lot of team members of Dell around the world, I've sent them the link and just looking forward to visit. I look back even Michael Portilla's visit on the train journeys. I was involved a little bit in the cathedral video, which you'll see on their site. So a lot of that is really going to attract a lot of people to come see us. And what I'd like to think is that we can collaborate and extend, that we work beyond Cobh in the East Cork and West Waterford region, so that we can really create the whole region as a place where people want to come. Now, there's always going to be challenges, whether it's for the harbour or for Ireland. Right now, in the post-COVID world, there's going to be a war for talent. We're going to have to really look after our talent in terms of reskilling, upskilling, flexibility, conditions. Inflation is going to be with us for a while. And if I come specifically to Cobh and where we are here, broadband. I had to come to work this morning because I couldn't trust broadband to deliver this speech. And I know it's coming, but it can't come soon enough. And as I said to Joanna a little earlier, as a trained engineer, I'm always looking for single points of failure so that systems work properly. And Bell Valley Bridge is a frightening single point of failure that does need to be addressed to make sure we have full access to this great island. What I would also say is that we must continue to break silos and collaborate. The world post-COVID is going to need collaboration. And while we're doing a lot of it, we must do more. And there are lots of examples around the place. And one of the areas that I would say this is important is the customer experience. What I would say back here in Dell, if someone visits us, as soon as they get on an airplane in their own runway, until they get back, everything in between has to be first class. The taxi ride from the airport, the hotel stay, the bus ride, whatever it is. And we must go above and beyond because people will remember that, number one, and come back perhaps and tell their friends. So that's very, very important at this stage. Let me talk a little bit about COVID-19. And I'd have to start by saying it's absolutely been a dreadful time. My thoughts with people who have been ill or who have lost loved ones. And we've been really very focused at Dell in Cork for doing the right thing for our team members over 23, nearly 24 months now. We've had team members who had to come in manufacturing and other areas. We've looked after people at home in maybe not great surroundings in terms of broadband. So we've learned a lot from it. And I do believe at this stage, we are most definitely rounding the corner. So what has happened? What have we learned? There was no blueprint for this, by the way. We had to learn as we go. So there's a hybrid working model now. And for those who can work from home or anywhere, I hope people won't resist that, because this new working model will give the flexibility that will help us with the war for talent. That flexibility, by the way, is around now work being an outcome, not a place. You can work from anywhere. And the flexibility of the working day, let alone the working week, will be important. The importance of hubs. We've done quite a review of hubs around the country and see will that be part of our plan in Dell going forward. And certainly regional hubs, and we hope we'll have one in Cobh, will be very important for reviving rural opportunities. Digital transformation. It's moving at a tremendous speed, and it's incumbent on us all to keep up, to make sure that we treat digital literacy as critical. We must not leave anyone behind here as we move forward. And if you think about lifelong learning, we, with our team at Dell, are constantly upskilling, reskilling, preparing for the future against the backdrop of the digital transformation. Everyone should be doing this. It's great now in the new world. My father started life as a carpenter and he ended, but now you can have 5 or 6 career changes. You can make massive career changes, reskill, upskill. I think it's an exciting environment, albeit a little nervy for some of us. Zoom and Teams and all those tools are great for connecting, but there will still be the need to bring people together and build relationships. However, let's not deny the effectiveness of these tools. As one of our leaders here at Dell said a couple of weeks ago, you can be on 4 continents in one day. In the post-COVID world, you are definitely going to have a reevaluation of the use and setup of our buildings. We're doing that right now ourselves. Business travel will change. But what I would ask you all, as I've done this, is reevaluate all you did before COVID and ask yourself, is it relevant now? From meetings to travel. But I would also say, maybe write a note to yourself and say, what have I learned about myself that I'd like to keep as we turn the corner and get out of this dreadful COVID time? Empathy is certainly one of those that I think will be very strong and something that we need to do. For me, it's something I've learned an awful lot. You need to understand and put yourself in the shoes of people wherever they are and help out where you can. So as I journey on at 59 years of age, I look at kind of what things have I learned and things that I have to focus on. If I had to say 2 things over my kind of working career, I'm learning to listen more and I'm learning to be patient more. And I think that's something that I have to continually work on. I also say to everyone, be curious, and my definition of curious is that you're so interested in something you're not afraid to ask a stupid question. Get involved and get engaged. Just like work, you can now learn from anyone, anywhere, and be open to that is what I would say. Also, if I look at what we have to do at Dell, I look at what we have to do here in the harbour, no one's going to hand it to us. So we've got to be up for a bit of hard work, a bit of strong collaboration. And what I say is, you have to be capable every now and then of doing a 75-hour week. Not every week, but now and then, because you know how important that work is for the vision you want to attain. I had a friend, team member here in Dell from Australia, who, when we were going through one of our transformations, talked about the plucky Irish. He said, we shouldn't be just talking, we did a good job, but we finished second. Now, certainly, is the time to stand out there confidently in the post-COVID world, embrace change more, and put ourselves out that we can be first. One thing I've learned from my journey with EMC and Dell Technologies is we hold our own with anyone. And once we're willing to work and commit, we can do great things. And that's exactly true for all of us here and in the harbour in particular. So I want to leave plenty of time for questions. So I just want to finish with a quote that is all about embracing change and dealing with ambiguity. As I said earlier, there was no blueprint. There is no blueprint for COVID. We learned as we went. And I think that if there's one thing I could leave you with, we must get better at embracing change and dealing with an ambiguous world around us. So when we did a program many years ago around lean manufacturing, we were given a book to read on change. And one of the quotes in there was from a guy by the name of King Whitney Jr. I didn't know who he was and really didn't care for a while, but I looked it up. He was a civil rights activist in the US. And this is his quote, and I'm going to leave you with this. Change has a considerable impact on the human mind. To the fearful, it's worrying, as things may get worse. To the hopeful, it's encouraging, as things may get better. But to the confident, and I put in there for myself and maybe others, not arrogant, it's inspiring, because conditions exist to make things better. Better, I hope, for Dell, and better, I hope, for Cobh and our region. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Bob. My God, that was really inspirational. And I suppose I would have touched an awful lot of people here this morning, because we've had to deal with an awful lot of change and we've had to go with it. And some of it has been positive, some of it has been negative. But as you're right, we have to just really assess where we are now. And we have so many opportunities here in Cork alone, and even in Cobh, that we need to embrace for sure. So before we go to questions, after the questions, we're going to be doing our 2 spotlights, which are Brighter Communities and John Keating, for the Cobh Toastmasters and for the public speaking. So, but before we go to them, we're going to go delve into the questions, Bob, if that's okay. So firstly, thank you for very informative presentations, great insights and such positive energy. We're so grateful for you coming here this morning to talk to us. You're fantastic at speaking, I have to say, and what you have to say is brilliant. It's most interesting that you mentioned connectivity, and that international connectivity is so important to Dell continued presence in Cork. As we're all aware, there's a population growth here in Cork, and indeed the harbour area and that's in the National Cork County Development Plan. So as a resident of Cobh, Bob, how necessary do you see the improved connectivity, and what opportunity would you see better connectivity presenting to the Greater Island?
Yeah, well, I did mention, as I said, I don't usually talk negatively, but the Bell Valley Bridge scares me. It really does, in terms of a single point of failure, which leads to connectivity. There definitely got to be more access into the Great Island as it evolved. You talked about it at the start, about how it's transformed since the 80s. Well, we have to continue that transformation, and connectivity is essential. And that connectivity is also going to be needed in the roadways around us. The airport itself, as I mentioned, what a resource. Brand new runway, latest technology, fantastic terminal. Now we need to get the access points to where we need to go. And yeah, I don't think you're going to get everything out of Cork Airport. Shannon is there as well for maybe something transatlantic, but connectivity around Europe in particular is going to be very important out of Cork, and having that coming back. Good news, Ryanair is putting another plane there. Things are improving, but it can always get better. In fact, probably one of the reasons that I'm on the advisory board of the airport is I was complaining about it, and therefore you were put on it to either do something or shut up, which is a good point. So connectivity comes in 2 forms. The whole broadband, I spoke 10, 15 years ago about this. Broadband is as important as roads. But for us, where we are, with some of the challenge that we have, that I know you're going to be dealing with, Joanna, soon, is we do need multiple ways of getting in and out of the island, and the interconnection then on the N25, hugely important.
Absolutely. And even from a safety perspective too, Bob, that, that you have the safety of the residents here in Cobh. And, I did mention in January, at the January event, that a delegation team from the Cobh and Harbour Chamber will be going to the Dáil to meet with Minister for Public Expenditure, and that will be happening in March. And actually, in fact, Minister McGrath will be speaking at our April event, so he'll be touching on that as well. So with regards to the other questions, so COVID-19 taught us many things. What impact did it have on you personally?
Yeah, well, we started, I saw the team on the call here, we started March 2 years ago, where it had hit us at work. We had customers in, we had team members to look after. It was really a great sense, and I pay a huge tribute to the Dell team, that we got together, we got as calm, as collective as we could be. We realized that we had to invent as we went, but we put on top of the list, as did Michael Dell and the leadership, the safety of our team members over everything else. That set a good backdrop. But as I said, John, you're learning as you go here. And certainly on my family side as well, it's a case of it's particularly the January to April of last year, where people were totally locked down. And we had to look after people who came in to facilities. So we created a really best practice facility where I am today in ovens for those who came in so they felt safe. And we had to also look after those who were working from home in far from ideal conditions. And we were able to, after a while, open another one of our offices to allow people to come in there. So a lot of learning, scary. I hope now that we've learned some of the things I've said there earlier that we can keep and put them in practice for good. One of them is, if you can work flexibly, if you're leading it, don't resist that, because the new world is going to have to build in this working as an outcome. So we're still learning, but I hope and I firmly believe, outside of the tragedies and the loss of life, that if we take all the learnings, our working environment post-COVID, in terms of flexibility and work-life balance, will be better than it was before.
Absolutely, and the priority is having a better quality of life, and that's what COVID-19 has taught us, that it's really, really important. So you also touched on the importance of lifelong learning and career changes. Could you give us an insight into how you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things in your role?
Well, first of all, as I said, you can learn from anyone, anywhere. I'm privileged to be in an ecosystem where I'm working with a lot of smarter people. And I'm not afraid to ask a dumb question to a smart person who will then generally help me in areas. So listen more, be open for things more. Obviously, in the world of education, if you think what we have here in Cork to help us with that journey, we have two fantastic universities. We have, I mentioned Dennis Leamy, education training, further education, how they're transforming. But, you know, through a life now, you cannot just, if you did a degree like I did in the mid-80s, you can't forget that you're not going to go back to education again. And you're going to hear a lot more about micro-credentials or small engagements around key areas of skills that you need. For me, I'm doing a lot right now in terms of what leaders and managers need to change in a post-COVID world. We're doing some of that with, say, MTU Academy. We're going to do some of that in our own learning platform. But if you're very focused on career and life planning, which is people having a 3, 5, 7-year plan, in this digitally transforming world, you've got to build in lifelong learning. You've got to be upskilling or reskilling if you're taking on new opportunities. So it's kind of nearly a no-brainer at this stage that you have to make it part of the culture.
Okay, and like, how does Dell Ireland approach upskilling and reskilling its staff?
So again, it has to be part of the culture. The great thing here, we have across Ireland maybe 5,000 incredible team members. We're in the technology business. If we don't do work around reskill or upskill, we still have great people, but they won't be relevant to where we're going unless we invest in upskilling. And also, by the way, influencing where we can education institutes to change curricula as things change. Like new areas of technology that are coming, cloud computing, cybersecurity focus, artificial intelligence, 5G on the whole telco side, making better use of data, edge computing, which you'll hear more about in terms of stuff that happens beyond our computers at the edge. All that now has to make sure that our graduates coming out of these great universities are well enriched and ready to work in those technology areas. And at the same time, we have to upgrade our internal people and their skills. We put, over the last couple of years, 900 of our team members through what we call a Transform program with SkillsNet and Technological University Dublin. And we will continue to do that type of work to make sure we keep relevant to what the market needs.
That's brilliant. That's really good news. So in your opinion, what does Cork offer as a location for the global operations of Dell Technologies?
Well, it's an ecosystem. As I said, in the new world, there'll be a war for talent. We need to create an environment where people would want to live, want to learn, want to stay. So the quality of life here is tremendous, I think. So we can attract people in. And of course, we can attract people in, even though they might be based somewhere else in the virtual world we're in now. But, you know, again, I go back. No matter what you do, it's about people and it's technology and business. And therefore, when you think of what we have here in terms of education, in terms of UCC, MTU, further education, it's just, and it's the backbone of the ecosystem. And when you think of the quality of life in this great county, let alone the harbour, we found it a great way. It really attracts people. You just, John, don't want to attract people, you want to retain people. You're going to invest. So the quality of life, the flexibility you offer in working conditions has to be baked in as one complete package.
Very good, excellent. There's a question in here from Liam from the Cobh Credit Union, actually. Hi Bob, thanks for that, it was really good. I have one question. We are developing our digital transformation strategy in Cobh Credit Union. However, the challenge of operational resilience is a hot topic. My question to you is the technology growing past our ability as SMEs to manage it?
No, not really. I wouldn't think so. It's growing very, very fast. We just got to catch up with it. And in cyber and resiliency, you know, is such an important part of what you need to protect your assets. And you have to, again, it's nearly cultural, Johnny. You have to, when you're building your digital technology platform, you have to, from day one, focus on cyber and realize that something is going to happen, and therefore you protect against it. So be delighted to talk offline a little bit more on that in terms of some of the stuff that we have, because I don't want to go plugging our cyber security vault. But yeah, we as a company take it hugely seriously, and SMEs are taking it seriously as well.
Okay, you know, it's an ever-evolving world and you just have to keep on top of it.
Absolutely.
So how important are cloud and industry 4.0 technologies in maintaining Ireland's competitiveness?
Well, you know, if I give you the Dell story, we're not a cloud. Our solution is offer a customer a series of cloud options. So, for instance, you may want to do the cloud type of arrangement in your own premises or in what we call a co-location premises. And in what we call Apex or cloud offering, we offer that solution at scale with choice. So it's not just one cloud, it's whatever cloud a customer wants or multi-cloud they want that you will go after. So cloud is very important for Ireland. Most companies now, starting off from scratch, will go to some form of cloud solution for their IT, and therefore it's important. But I think we're well advanced in cloud technology across the tech sectors in Ireland.
That's very good. Great, Bob. So Bob, we're going to leave the questions for there if you don't mind, and we're going to go straight to our spotlights. But thank you so much. And I think we all found that really inspirational, and the answers were excellent. So thank you. I'm just, if I may, I'm just going to introduce us to Rose Hennessy of Brighter Communities. So Rose, you're more than welcome and delighted to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Joanna, and thank you very much, Bob. That was really interesting. So yeah, good morning, everybody, and hello. And it's great to have the opportunity for this spotlight. So thank you for that. So I'm Rose Hennessy. I work with an Irish charity called Brighter Communities Worldwide, and we moved our office to Cobh last October and joined the chamber then. So we work with communities in rural Kenya to deliver programs that bring better health, education, access to water, and also business income generating. The charity was founded by Maria Kidney, who's a Cobh woman, born and bred in Norwood Park. And if you happen to have last night's Echo handy, she's featured in the WOW section. There's an article on her, so have a look. She's back in Kenya at the moment. So this year for us is big because we're going to celebrate our 20th anniversary. So I invite you to follow us on our social media channels, get to know us, follow the activities and events that will come up during the year. First of these events I'd like to invite you to is to come visit Kenya with me, albeit virtually, for International Women's Day on Tuesday, March 8th. So we're going to have a live link by Zoom to meet some of the women taking part in activities on that day. So it's a great opportunity to see the area where we work, meet some of the staff, meet the women taking part. And these are women who are continuing to struggle through the pandemic because in Kenya, it's far from over. So to join in on this, just drop me an email at rosehennessy@brightercommunities.org. I'll send you the Zoom link, or better still, drop into the office. We're on the lower ground floor, 2 Westbourne Place, which is beneath the Charles Daly Solicitor's offices. And we'll have a screen set up there and coffee on the go that morning. So you're more than welcome to pop in and, you know, come join in the Zoom with us from there. So hope to see you then. And thank you for the opportunity and Have a good day.
Thank you, Rose. And if anyone wants more details, you can contact the Chamber office. Anyway, we'll hand them out, no problem. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce our second spotlight, John Keating of Well Set Communications and Cobh Toastmasters. So welcome, John. You're on mute. Yeah, good.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joanna. Good morning, everybody, and thanks, Bob, for an excellent presentation. I'd like to just briefly outline 3 key principles or pillars of effective communication. First and foremost, effective communication must be audience focused. It's all about the audience. From the pen to the podium, understanding our audience is critical. It's important to realize that everybody has a story to tell or a product to sell, but we need to think about our audience before we speak. Secondly, our communication must be authentic. We must be completely authentic in our desire to serve that audience. We should never think about our audience as customers or clients, but as partners. So authenticity is very important. And thirdly, we have to be audacious. Communicate with a sense of purpose, poise, and passion. And remember, fortune favors the audacious. And I think when those 3 elements, those 3 pillars come together, we achieve the ultimate in effective communication, and that's connection. And when we create that connection, that's where action and progress develops. I'm very fortunate to work with a lot of PhD students who spend years getting the information in, but struggle to get it out. I get to work with wonderful business people like Joanna, and I get to work with executives, helping them craft content, create their message, and deliver. And if that's something that, and I do that one-to-one and within workshops, tailor-made for organizations and specific areas of communication. And if that's something you feel I would be interested, I would be delighted to explore the possibility of working with you. In line with my passion for communication, I also have a passion for Toastmasters. And I've been involved with Toastmasters now for 14 years. It's a worldwide organization. It's voluntary run. It's a non-profit. And I love starting clubs. And the first club I started was Bishopstown Toastmasters in 2009. And that club has been probably Cork's most successful club since then, voted as most successful club again last year. And then after Bishopstown, I was asked by 2 executives from a large multinational company, Gillian Bergen and Sarah O'Connor, about starting a club in-house for their company. They told me everybody in the company had to give presentations, nobody had been trained, and it was a challenge. But in order to run it in the company and on company time and the support of the company, they required the backing of their boss. I knew their boss was familiar with Toastmasters because he told me that he knew of a colleague who had joined Toastmasters, developed excellent communication skills, and was promoted throughout the company. And of course, the boss was and is Bob Savage. And Toastmasters is still working to this day in Dell. I was asked then recently by Joanna to start a Toastmasters club in Cobh. I don't think you say no to Joanna if you get to know her. And I'm delighted to announce today that Cobh Toastmasters will be starting on the 7th of March, Monday at 8 o'clock. I'm delighted with the support we've got from the Commodore Hotel in John Gately and from Joanna and the Harbour, the Cobh Harbour Chamber. Bringing Toastmasters to Cobh, I think, will be a great addition, and I think it'll be very popular. It gives people the opportunity to develop skills in a safe and critically fun environment. And what I love about Toastmasters, I see people come in one way and they go out the other. They come in unsure, sometimes unconfident, but they go confident communicators. And with those skills, they change and make a difference. So who's it for? It's for college students, it's for people in business, it's for people in work, it's for people who are out of work, no better way to develop your communication skills. It's people from business, it's for leaders of any organizations in the community or corporate that want to make a difference and communicate effectively. So I would ask everybody to let people know that on the 7th of March, Monday at 8 o'clock at the Commodore Hotel, we're going to run a weekly club. People don't have to turn up every week, but it'll be there every week. So thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to Joanna for the opportunity to promote it this morning.
Lovely, thank you, John. And yeah, you're right. Communication's everything, and being able to get what's inside there out is so important. So really looking forward to that. So we're on time now. So does anybody have any more questions that we might ask Bob there before we finish up? And if not, we're going to wrap it up this morning. Massive thank you, Bob, for everything this morning. And it really was an enlightening talk, I have to say. And I think it's something we all kind of need to hear, and kind of need to kind of, I suppose, ground ourselves and think about what we've all been through and what's ahead of us as well. And I also want to say a massive thank you to Conor from the Port of Cork. A huge support, Conor. The Port of Cork is the Cobh and Harbour Chamber, and thank you so much. I'd also like to thank all our spotlight speakers this morning, Rose and John, all our attendees, to the office, to Lee Gillen Events for running the event for us this morning. Thank you so much, Lee. So just to let you know, this is probably one of our last virtual events. So our next breakfast meeting is going to be on the 24th of March in the Water's Edge Hotel, where Maggie Cusack, President of the MTU, will be speaking with us. So again, that will be on our events section of the Cobh and Harbour Chamber page for you to book in, and we really love to see you there. So again, as I said, thank you so much, and thank you for everyone for coming along. Good morning.